Welcome back to the Energy Innovation Days 2021. And I don't know about you, but when I started playing around with Bitcoin for the first time, I lost a lot of money. So I'm looking forward to this next talk because here's someone who's an absolute blockchain enthusiast. And I'm happy to be converted today back into what the potential of this technology really is, or this mechanism. She's an absolute expert in open innovation, and especially the link between startups and universities and the corporates around that, so the ecosystem. Here is the program officer, Siemensstadt², and she's going to talk about demystifying blockchain for us. Here is Maria Roßbander.
Thank you very much. It's an absolute honor to be here, and I hope I can take you on this journey of Bitcoin and, of course, also other blockchain-affiliated applications. First of all, I would like to share my story with you, and I was actually a bit luckier than Christoph was because my story was I took a colleague to lunch, and he was short of money, so I paid his lunch. And when we went back to the office, he asked me if I would like to have the money back either in fiat or in Bitcoin. And I was like, all right, okay, let me have it in Bitcoin. I wasn't involved at all at that time. So he paid the money. It was back then 35 euros, so quite an expensive lunch. And I can tell you it was the best investment I have done so far. So for those who are interested, that was in 2017. So, and that's also my motivation of today's talk today. I was hooked ever since, and I hope I can hook some of you in this very interesting space and of technology, but also of new ways of thinking, applications, new business models. So let me start, first of all, with the origin of blockchain. It was two guys. It was Stuart Huber and also Scott Storetta, who started introducing a concept of distributed computers in the early 90s. And it took almost another 2 decades until a person called Satoshi Nakamoto entered the space and wanted to publish a white paper called Peer-to-Peer Transaction Electronic Cash System. And that white paper was at a time, it was in 2008, where we had the financial crisis, where there was a lot of turmoil, and because people at that time trusted central institutions with their savings, those central institutions were banks, and those banks invested horribly back then, and a lot of people lost their savings, their jobs, and some even their life because they didn't see a future anymore. So it then, that's also why there's this connection, or a lot of people believe there's Bitcoin is connected as a counter-proposal to the central bank system. In early January 2009, then the very first block was mined. And in that very first block, there was an information contained, and that says, Chancellor on brink of second bailout of banks. So here again, there's another cue or clue to the financial system then breaking down, and Satoshi Nakamoto offering a new option. Of course, it was only one person, and it took another, I think it was a week, until a next person, or user number 2, was joining the network, and we all of a sudden had a medium of exchange created at that point. Then later, it was a year later, in history it goes down at Bitcoin Pizza Day on May 22nd, when a guy called Laszlo ordered 2 pizzas at Papa John's and paid 10,000 Bitcoins at that time. So imagine, I just checked the worth of 1 Bitcoin to date, and it's actually almost 50,000 euros. So imagine what the worth of the 2 pizzas would be nowadays. So it's incredible. At least I find. So and at that point, a value was all of a sudden created, and at the end of that year, Satoshi Nakamoto vanished, and he, and I'm saying she, also, because we still don't know who that is, maybe it's also a consortium of a lot of people, vanished from the internet and wasn't seen ever since, saying that he or she would have other or more important things to focus on. And now we are in the year of 2011. In the beginning of that year, also other cryptocurrencies would emerge called altcoins. And at that point, WikiLeaks, I'm sure you still remember, would accept Bitcoins as a donation. So it it's another value that was created. And then in 2013, that was the year when it started to get a bit shady about Bitcoin, is when the US government took a website down that was offering an online black market. On that online black market, you were able to buy stolen credit cards, or you were able to, of course, also buy drugs, but even hire for murder. The US government shut it down, and the payments usually were done with Bitcoins, and that is also why probably a lot of people always think that Bitcoin is not a good thing. I'm telling you, there's a lot of stuff going on in the black market, and probably Bitcoin isn't the most money that is being paid. Of course, I'm sure it's still going to be used, but in context with other currencies, it's not the most used currency. Then moving forward to 2015, we have Ethereum deployed. Ethereum is an open source blockchain and also a platform which is offering 2 new applications. So now we're moving out of the Bitcoin space. And I was focusing a lot on Bitcoin in the early years because it is the mother of a blockchain and it has the most impact in the beginning. So Ethereum offered then smart contracts or new decentral applications, and one of the most exciting smart contracts in my history or in my understanding is the so-called DAO. The DAO was the Decentralized Autonomous Organization. It's an investor-related venture capital fund, so people would be able to invest money based upon the money they invest. They would get voting rights, and then based upon the voting rights, everyone of the community would decide what they would like to invest in. Usually it would be another firm they would like to invest. However, the code, the smart contract, it was hacked, and someone was able to withdraw $50 million from that, let's say, fund. In total, it collected $150 million within 28 days, which I find pretty impressive. And those 50 million, in order to save the rest of those 100 million, the community had to decide to hard fork the blockchain. So hard forking a blockchain means you would create a new one, and that is also the reason why nowadays we have Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. Then moving on to the next years, we have initial coin offerings coming up. Initial coin offerings is similar to the DAO, so you just have an idea, you publish a white paper, people would invest, would get a coin in return, and in best case, that coin would get more traction and get more valuable. Unfortunately, there was also a lot of scam in that space. However, within 7 months in 2017, you would be able, or the whole scene would be able to collect with a lot of hundreds of ICOs, of course, but still the investment amount was $21 billion in that space. A lot of them were scams, the system crashed, and even Bitcoin fell by 65% in value, but has recovered ever since. Because of those scams, the space had to be more regulated. We're now introducing, or we're talking about security token offerings. Nowadays, you can also invest into real estate based upon those offerings. They're usually more regulated. In Germany, it's regulated by the BaFin. And then adding to that, the next years, we have self-sovereign identities, digital identities, where individuals are getting more in control of their footprint within the internet. And we have, of course, also Bitcoin accepted as a financial instrument, but you can also pay with it. So you can now pay on Visa, or with Visa with Bitcoin. Even I think in Germany, Lieferando, you can pay with Bitcoin, and other applications or other platforms accept now Bitcoin as a payment. And even countries nowadays, by the way. Then we have, this year, we're now in 2021, the latest or the hottest thing is called NFTs. Those are non-fungible tokens. Non-fungible tokens represent digital assets. So in digital asset, you might have heard of crypto funds or cryptocurrencies. So you just buy something that is valuable in the digital space. And for example, the most one with the most value that has been created was Beeple, that is digital art that was sold this year for $69 million. Jack Dorsey, the co-founder or founder of Twitter, he sold his ever first tweet setting up my Twitter, I believe, and that even sold for 2.9 million. So what's the purpose of that? Well, once you own this NFT and someone else is using that, he or she would have to pay you royalties in order to use that. So you can track actually the footprint of that digital asset in the internet. So it's just creating a new way of, or a new business model, which is very important, and it's very usable also for music. So if you create a new song, you can now track that and when someone's playing that. So it's just really, again, attacking the central authorities who would usually take royalties in order to regulate the space. So then Bitcoin also reached its all-time high this year and has been established as a digital gold. And we have a lot of more applications in this space. So this is a short timeline of blockchain-related applications that I wanted to share with you. And what I would like you to take away is 3 things. So let's put things a bit in perspective. The maturity of blockchain, again, it started in 2008. It's comparable to that of a teenager. It's 13 years old, and a teenager, I'm referring to it as a she now. She needs a lot of energy. She might throw tantrums. She might be, not do the right decisions. Yet she is evolving. She's getting bigger. She's getting more mature. So the decisions will be not as well anymore. And she's learning, of course. And that is what's very important also in the space of blockchain. Then the next takeaway, and this is putting it in a time frame again. We start with research, then we have the origin, and then we have the Bitcoin white paper in 2008 where it was still a baby. Then we have the toddler when we have Bitcoin Pizza Day and altcoins, where we have transactions. Building on that, we have the Silk Road Ethereum network when it's in kindergarten age around 2015. We have the contracts of the Ethereum network, and now as a teenager, we have applications like the DAO, the SSI, NFTs, and STOs. And from there, we are looking into adulthood with all the applications that are happening now and more to happen. If you put it on a technology roadmap from a maturity perspective, R&D is really where you're just learning. And right now, I would say we're in between of the early adopters and early majorities, probably more on the early adopter side, but just to connect the maturity of the technology with the maturity of technologies per se. Now, the second takeaway I would like to leave you with, the applications to date are massive. This is a chart I found on the internet, which I found very impressive. And I also asked my LinkedIn community, so what are the applications that you find most powerful? Bitcoin and NFTs share 30%, so a lot of people believe in that. 13% in STOs, and then you have another 7% in different offerings. Like DeFi, we have also DAO, CBDC, which is central bank, and digital currency. Now, if we look into the energy space is offering a lot of different use cases. And there we have system as a service, for example. We have automated pay-per-use. We have different business models. Power Ledger is a new project that is in India and offering peer-to-peer energy trading concepts. We've just heard Ed from Grid Singularity. They're also looking into new business models in the energy space, but also the Energy Web Foundation. They're collecting a lot of ideas and new use cases. And this is where you come in. And this is the last takeaway I have for you, and I would like you to join me, because the stewardship is literally on you. I ask you to educate yourself with this very powerful infrastructure technology. It is here and it's not going away, but it needs experts like you to foster this technology and to bring in into your company, to spin it in, to think about all the new different ways of thinking, but also the business models that are developing, and then really do the transfer work of what you see is happening out there, but then how this might apply to you. And then lastly, maybe you can also call yourself a proud foster mom or dad. And with that, I'd like to thank you for your attention, and stay healthy.
Thanks so much, Maria, for these insights into blockchain. Yeah, I find it fascinating that technologies seem to go through these evolutions. Whether we look at the internet in the beginning, and now we look at blockchain or artificial intelligence, it seems that humans always underestimate short-term the power of a new technology, and then overestimate short-term, believe in it in the beginning, like me investing into Bitcoin, even though I shouldn't have. And then long-term, we underestimate the power of blockchain, which undoubtedly has a lot of power for what we need to do. And this brings me to our Republic of Innovators, where we created a space for you to actually exchange ideas, so you don't overestimate new technologies in the short term. Maybe figure out together what to do best about making things happen. And one thing you can do there is to go to our partner valley and talk to the people from our partners, from SAP, from Microsoft, Salesforce, whoever is there to talk to. And I would urge you to do this during the break. It's a powerful space to go into, exchange thoughts and ideas, and really meet and network with the other people. Even though we're not in the same room and the same space, we can meet in this virtual space to come together. And then in the Republic of Innovators, of course, you can meet a lot of the people who are at this conference, and you can meet a lot of people that are watching like you are, and exchange thoughts. And this brings me to another thing that I want to mention. Of course, this lives from your input. So whenever you have questions to our experts on stage, please write them in the chat, message us. We want to get to whatever is relevant to you as much as we can. And now this brings me to what we're expecting after the break. And this is something that will start around 1 o'clock p.m. German time. Sina Landorf and her guests, Thomas Beer and Mark Ellsberg, will be here discussing the blackout. And you don't want to miss that. So we will be back here at 1:05. And I'll see you on the other side. Enjoy the break, and see you at the Republic of Innovators.